There are two happy days in Spyderco owner's life. The first one is when you buy your favorite Spyderco model. And the second one is when you find out that they made this model even cooler and you buy another version of the same. And the Glassers, owners of the company, they know that. And that's why you get multiples of every model they make. This is Shaman, an intersection of their tactical and EDC models. Mostly EDC, of course, but the presence of tip-down pocket clip mounting position makes it more tactical because that's the best way to carry it on a molly gear, tip down. And of course, tip-up configuration works best in your pants pocket. What I just said is well known by everyone who knows and understands Spyderco as a brand. What I would like to point out from my perspective is this is also a pinnacle of systems engineering. Every feature on this knife has some kind of specific purpose, has a very specific requirement or end user benefit behind it. Instead of comparing it to a bunch of other knives, which I did in a short video, I'll go over some features that excite me about this particular model. And as I swing this blade close, I get a very distinct Shaman bump here from this little protruding piece. This feature serves two purposes. First, I can pre-open the knife if I want to do it quietly, and then it will be easy to swing it open without having to overcome the detent. And on the closer, it bumps me, telling me where the blade is. So if I do it in the dark, I have tactile sensation of where the blade is. Not all of their compression locks have this feature, but I think this was totally put here on purpose. Next, I will talk about the finger choil, finger placement position on the blade, because this knife offers you two ways in each orientation to grip it. Here, 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 with your thumb firmly securing the pommel, or here to have an additional striking surface if you need to. And the reason I like this finger choil, I'm going to use UK pen knife, also now available in Salt series with MagnaCut blade. The reason I like it, even on the knife that doesn't lock, if you're working on something, let's say you got it stuck in a piece of wood, and as you're pulling it out, it tends to get out of battery here and will close on your finger. This choil will protect your finger from being cut. On a large knife that potentially could be used for some heavy-duty tasks, it becomes even more important. And on Shaman, when if it goes out of battery here from doing something you shouldn't really be doing with a knife, again, it will pinch your index finger into the choil and go no farther. And even if you grip it here on the handle only, it still offers you the same protection. If I place PM2 here, you know, guys, I'm always confused. Paramilitary 2, Power 2, or PM2. I put it next to Shaman. The handle on PM2 is 9/16 of an inch or 5 millimeters shorter. And the blade, or specifically the cutting edge, is very, very close because they push this lanyard hole out toward the backside of the handle. That creates an illusion of Shaman being a lot better balanced visually, at least for my taste. In a reverse grip, I'm kind of reaching with the thumb to secure the pommel, and nearly impossible from this grip. But with Shaman, with my European large size or American medium size hand, it's a lot easier to reach. To test the blade for hardness, I need to partially disassemble the knife. To do that, I'm using Hoto multi-bit driver set. The reason I settled on this driver set because the bits are made out of S2 tool steel, which is heat treated to 58 to 60 HRC. And yes, I did check it with my Rockwell hardness meter. Not that you couldn't still strip it, but it helps. Pretty snugly torqued pivot screw here. I'm removing the one on the pocket clip side, and it's a T10. For the body screws, I need a T8. And Spyderco runs their screw slightly oversized socket So T9 actually fits as well with a little forward pressure. And this is what I'm doing here, because I don't like T8 sometimes feels loose in their screws. Upon fully intended and appropriate, they're almost the same size in reality. So here you go. To pop the knife open, it's not easy. I'm using this little nylon pry bar to pop it open. The fits and tolerances are extremely tight on most Spydercos, and especially on the Shaman. So it takes me a while to line everything up where the scale pops off finally, with some degree of violence, which exposes a pivot washer. The washers are captive on all of the compression lock models that I've disassembled to date, and on a Manix 2 and Manix 2 lightweight as well. And I like that they leave a little bit of a polished area around the pivot for washers to interface better. Time to do the hardness test, and as always I started with verifying calibration of my Rockwell tester. I use this independently certified to NIST standards calibration block, which is serialized and matches the paperwork there, and it also stamped 62 HRC while the paperwork says 61.99. I'm going to speed up this video 2x so I don't bore you for too long. And it's a tedious process, but I feel like showing a continuous uninterrupted segment demonstrates that there is no creative editing going on behind the scenes, and what you see is what you actually get in reality. After the minor load is applied and the device zeroed out, I release the major load. I get 62 as read on this outer rim black numbers. The red numbers display HRB scale, reserved for brass, aluminum, and other soft metals. So the first step is place the target on the anvil, then anvil rises toward the immobile stationary penetrator, which has a diamond tip. In the middle of the dial, there's a tiny little hand that indicates the minor load. I adjust it so it's in the center of the tiny little red dot there, and then I zero the device, and 10 seconds later I get the reading. I'm reading 61.8, 61.9, which is literally nothing to write home about for MagnaCut in 2025. Everyone but Spyderco and maybe Benchmade realized that and heat treat MagnaCut to 63 plus or minus 1 HRC. And on this poke, I am getting almost 63. It's a 62.9, which is quite a jump. My device is very repeatable, the Rockwell tester that is, so I'm a little bit surprised. Let's do it a couple more times just to be sure. And that's why I put that much effort into getting the average for you. And I got 61.5. Time to set up for the fourth and final poke. Is anyone out there who in 2025 or 2026 thinks that heat treating MagnaCut to this level is justifiable? Or should all companies strive for over 62 HRC? The reading is 61.5 again, and so if I throw away the outlier, the average will be 61.6 over the 3 good pokes. This is not an industry standard test method because I'm testing one sample out of a large batch. I do it solely for your entertainment purposes, and yours may be harder than mine. As I started reassembling the knife, I noticed that the washer that I already removed has flatness issues. As you can see, the blade is wearing a shiny pattern. So I decided to do what I normally do with the knives running on washers, polish up the washers. For that, I have to remove the rest of the pivot mechanism. Taking out the screw was not a problem, not over Loctited, but the pivot is in there pretty snug due to very, very tight tolerances. I don't want to use pliers, not recommended. You don't want to damage the surface of the pivot. It's pivotal in how smoothly your knife operates. So I am screwing in the opposite pivot screw, or into the opposite side, just a few turns here. And now I'm going to use a 3 32 of an inch punch pin, and my little persuader here. And please be smarter than I am and secure the pivot pin with the palm of your hand so it doesn't fall on the floor. Hit the like button if it ever happens to you, please. After polishing the washers, there are a couple things you should know about reassembling these knives. The pivot barrel is not identical on two sides. One side of it has a flat locating feature and the other one is completely round. The round side fits into the log bar side of the liner, and the other one fits obviously into the opposite scale. I could have assembled it the other way, starting with a scale that has a locating feature, but I just want to illustrate the hard way of doing it in case you decide to choose this route. And I still have the screw temporarily threaded into the opposite side of the pivot barrel for that purpose, because the fit is so tight I have to persuade it in. And in case you're worried about the orientation, I'll show you in a second, the pivot barrel has alignment features that kind of look like screwdriver slots. Let me take the screw out so you can see it. Easier with the driver bit. Right here, there are little lines, and the locating feature should be pointing at where the finger choil is on the scale. Whew, I hope you're following all that. Or if your mechanical aptitude is higher than mine, you started on the opposite side and made your life a little easier. I'm doing it the hard way for educational purposes, or maybe it was because I was too lazy to completely disassemble the knife. Did I mention how tight everything fits together? That click was the stop pin finding home, and the second click is the pivot barrel finding its home. The best way to support my channel is joining as a monthly member and using the link provided in the description, or shopping for tools and supplies for knife maintenance and sharpening that I advertise in the description. Those are my Amazon affiliate links. As I'm fine-tuning the pivot tension, I put the blade out of battery. This way I am not compressing unnecessarily the locking bar. That's a good trick to remember. And finally, I'm torquing all the screws and testing the function of the knife. I hope you enjoyed this video and find it useful. Please comment if you have any questions. I read all of my comments and reply to most of them.